Well, here we go. Welcome. So, just to throw out here, every day I've thrown a thought up there to kind of get our brains activated here for our learning. And so, looking at history in general, you've been studying it for some time here. And as kind of reflecting on it, and you're looking at authoritarians as well, is history made by individuals or by historical forces? All right, and so I guess to answer that question, what is historical forces? I guess needs to be looked at here. And I suppose what is history happening today? Is that considered history, or does it have to be about 10, 15 years, 20 years, 30 years old to be considered history? I guess in my day when I was in high school, if we want to ask questions about the Vietnam War, all right, so that kind of gives a sense of how old I might be. If we talked about the Vietnam War, my history teacher would say, well, no, that's not history yet. It's not history yet. It's still kind of contemporary issues, even though it was about 10 years removed from the Vietnam conflict. So I guess we have to decide what history and historical forces are, and in order to answer that question ultimately, or you need to do that. So what do we think? Is history made by individuals or by historical forces? What do we think? You've seen a lot, you looked at a lot of individuals and movements. Movements, wars, all that could be considered historical forces, I guess. What do we think? Maybe by an individual? Or individuals, or by forces? What do we think? Even those at home can chime in as well. What do we think?
I would say that history is not necessarily made by individuals. Individuals can play a role in creating history, but in the end, like with all those authoritarians, they might have sparked a lot of the things that made history, but they weren't the complete cause of it, and they didn't go through and fulfill all their policies or do all the things that happened under them. They kind of just gave the orders, something like that. So I think that they play a role in it, but more historical forces would shape history.
Okay, gotcha. So if we look at the guy with the short mustache, all right, he definitely he does influence, doesn't he? All right, Adolf Hitler influences. But what brings him to power? If we remember, if we look at what brings him to power, there's a pretty major event that contributes to him becoming the power. You look at that historical force known as the Great Depression, and how the Great Depression not only shaped Germany, but shaped the global community. And you can break it down and look at individual countries and how we are shaped by that movement or that force called the Great Depression. Or if you look at the U.S. Civil War or any civil war, how transformational it might be. A leader may emerge, individuals may emerge, but are they the ones who make it, or is it the force itself? Those are all important things to think about. Contemporary. Let's talk about contemporary society. Is history made by George Floyd or by the event that has unfolded as a result of what happened to George Floyd? Well, I just went there. Or too soon.
I feel like when you say historical forces, it means like something that's gonna happen. Like you don't say like, oh, it wasn't Hitler, that would be someone else.
Okay.
Like it's something that's like those historical forces, like pressure that's building that.
Okay.
Like something that's gonna happen.
So Joe, I think I think that's a very good point. A very good point. Because if we look at it that way, if we put George Floyd in that perspective, we can find, can we find other examples of George Floyd's? I think we can. But you're talking about forces and how it may happen and pressure building up. We can almost every decade or periods in time find stuff like that, something similar to that could. So that's a really good point. Anyone else? What about perspective? I think perspective plays a part here too. You know, are you a person that, you know, has this big global perspective that here I have these general ideas of how you approach a study of something, and you look at these big, the forces. That is what you kind of zero in on, and then all the other things is attachments to it in some ways, those individuals, those specific events. But if you throw these big ideas out there about that are the forces, the Industrial Revolution is a historical force, which happens periodically, happens over time and changes and transforms, and then individuals slot in there. It depends on, I guess, your historical perspective as well. All right, but something to think about now, and as you move on in life, think about what are the game changers, all right? And what is, I guess, your thought on that and your role in that as well. All right, so with that, we are getting near the due date of your authoritarian case study. It is your summative. It is our first summative. All right. So as opposed to having you write a essay, we're going to go this approach here as our summative, where you create your case study on the authoritarian. So let's take care of that. So today, hopefully, you are putting some finishing touches with your case study. So tomorrow you can easily just wrap it up and submit it. Okay. If you need space to record, that's where the hallway is. We just got to maintain social distancing when we go out to the hallway. Make sure that you are creating a works cited, and you can submit that